Alright, y'all, what's good? Today, I'll be discussing which fighter would represent their country in a hypothetical MMA Olympics. So, in other words, this is basically which fighter is the best from each country. And for the rules, this is only including active UFC fighters on the UFC roster. No WMMA fighters, because I don't think people really want to hear about that. There will be 3 candidates for each country, so there will be 3 people to choose from. So the 3 best in the country to choose from, and I'll be going over their pound for pound skill and attributes. So I won't just choose like the biggest fighters. Only one fighter can be chosen for each country. This video considers fighters at their current ability. So that means if a fighter's out of their prime, I'll consider them out of their prime. I won't take them from their prime. And the video will only include major countries which are represented in the UFC. See, I don't know why I put that, but yeah, a little typo right there. But yeah, so Chile, sorry, you're not getting a representation. But yeah, these are the rules. Starting first with the USA. For the representatives, I chose Sean O'Malley, Max Holloway, and John Jones. Now, there's a lot of options from the USA. However, I thought that these 3 were the best because USA has a lot of quantity of not champions, of UFC fighters. We don't really have the best, we don't have the best quality. So I thought that the best from USA was Sean O'Malley, Max Holloway, and John Jones. Now, for Sean O'Malley, pros of choosing Sean O'Malley to represent the US in the Olympics: he's one of the best pure strikers in the UFC. He outstruck Petr Yan. I've never seen him be outstruck. He has great accuracy and timing. That ties into his striking. That's why he's so good. That's how he always finds a knockout, is because of precision, not because of power. Quick. He's very fast reactions, fast attacks, and he has decent takedown defense. Now, Aljo couldn't really take him down. Merab could, but yeah, that ties into cons, where he's not really skilled at grappling. When it gets to the mat, he doesn't have the ability to get up or really defend himself that well. He has underrated jiu-jitsu because Merab couldn't submit him, but that's Merab. And he lost his most recent match against Merab in a title fight. And he's not that strong in his grappling. So if someone can grapple him, they can easily handle him. And I don't think that that's a good skill set for the current best UFC fighters that'll be representing other countries in the Olympics. Now, for Max Holloway, he has the best volume striking in the UFC. The most successful volume striker, I should say. He has good cardio that allows him to output that many strikes. Best chin in UFC history. He's only got knocked out by the hardest hitter in UFC history. And the likes of Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje couldn't even knock him down. Well, Justin Gaethje knocked him down, but Justin Gaethje is a very hard hitter. He has good takedown defense. I believe he was taken down by Ilya, but he was more focused on the striking. But against actual wrestlers, that he doesn't really get taken down. He has very good footwork. Now, the cons of choosing Max Holloway, his weaknesses: he gets hit a lot. His style involves kind of taking 1 to hit 2. He can be out grappled, which, by Volk. If you look at the second fight with Volkanovski, he was getting out grappled. But Volk's a crazy wrestler. He's underrated. And recently lost a KO against Ilya Topuria. So his chin has been cracked. So I guess that ties into the fact that we don't really know what Max Holloway we'd see in the Olympics if his chin has just been cracked. But I believe he's still good. He's moving up to 155, and I think he's looking really good. I believe he's still in his prime. My favorite UFC fighter. Just got to throw that in. But now, for the final candidate, we have John Jones. And the pros of choosing John Jones, I know this isn't really to do with his skills, but he's heavily considered as the GOAT of the sport. Most people believe him to be the GOAT. He has very dangerous wrestling, as we saw in the Stipe and Cyril Gane fight. He's still very good at wrestling, even at heavyweight. He has crafty striking. He mixes in spinning kicks, oblique kicks. There are so many reactions that you need to beat John Jones. He's also the current UFC heavyweight champion, which ties into the cons because he's ducking Tom Aspinall, which doesn't put a good image on him. And for also cons, his boxing isn't technically good. He doesn't like to box, though. He's good at staying out of that range. He's out of his prime. He's 36 or 37, I believe. So he's going to be, and that'll cause him to be slower. So yeah, he doesn't look that fast at heavyweight. But for our chosen representative, I chose John Jones. He's coming off a win, unlike the other fighters. He's a current champion, and he's the most well-rounded of the 3. His wrestling is very needed in a time where grappling reigns supreme, where there's people like Merab, where there's people like Bilal Muhammad who are just going to grapple you. You need someone with good grappling. So I couldn't choose anyone but John Jones. For our next country, Brazil. Our potential representatives for Brazil are Alex Pereira, Alejandro Pantoja, and Charles Oliveira. For Alex Pereira, he has elite striking. He has an awkward, hands down, hard to read style. He's the current UFC light heavyweight champion, and he's a former middleweight champion. He has very good power. Not like one hit, or he can put you down with one hit, but he needs to follow up. He has a decent chin. You know, he got knocked out by Izzy, but I think that the weight cut kind of compromised his chin. At light heavyweight, he looks good. He took a ton of shots from Khalil, who is very powerful. Now, the cons of choosing Alex Pereira is that his grappling hasn't looked that good. He was taken down by Izzy, so I guess that ties into that. He can be taken down easily, and he gets hit. He gets hit a good amount. I can't lie. He has a good chin, and he has good head movement. That's what I have to say about Pereira. Moving on to Pantoja, the current flyweight UFC champion. He has elite grappling. He has the best, in my opinion, he has the best top pressure. Like, once he gets you down and he's on top, he has the best top pressure in the UFC. There's very few people who can shake him off of them within a round. He has, even in the striking, he has good blitzes. He kind of reminds me of Dricus in the striking, where he's just gonna kind of blitz in. He's not as goofy as Dricus, where he'll have more methodical blitzes, but yeah. And he has great pace and cardio. He always looks tired, but he's never really tired, if you know what I mean. He has amazing cardio. We saw in that Royval fight. We saw in the Usyk fight. Cons for choosing Pantoja to represent Brazil: he gets hurt a lot. Almost every fight he has, no matter who he goes against, he gets hurt. He makes it look close, and that's my second point, is he makes fights that shouldn't be close look close. Like Usyk, I believe that he beat Usyk, but he was damaged. He got damaged a lot. There were a lot of arguments that he lost the fight. Royval fight wasn't that close. Moreno, that was a very close fight. So I believe he won all those fights, but he needs to kind of be more dominant. Now, for Charles Oliveira, he has the best pure jiu-jitsu in the UFC. He has elite submission ability from any position. Great technical Muay Thai striking. That's an underrated aspect of Charles Oliveira's game, is he has very good striking. Like, he was outstriking Chandler. He was doing good against Poirier, and he looks improved in his latest fight. He looks improved in the striking. He looks improved in the wrestling aspect. But for cons of Charles Oliveira, he's chinny, somewhat chinny. He got knocked down by Islam, and he got knocked down by Chandler in the first fight, knocked down by Gaethje. Pretty much knocked down by most people that he's faced. He can be out wrestled by elite competition. So what I mean is Islam and Arman kind of beat him in the grappling with their wrestling, which he does look better in the wrestling in his latest fight. But there's nothing I saw that could make me believe that he wouldn't get out grappled by Arman and Islam again. And he doesn't look very good in the striking when he's against a well-rounded fighter. So what I mean is, when he's against people like Arman and Islam, he's very shy on the striking, as he can't really have as much of a high guard like he can against Chandler and Gaethje. That's what I have to say about Oliveira. Now, I don't know what happened there, but chosen representative, guys. This one's a little weird, because I bet everyone expected me to choose Alex Pereira, but Pantoja, bro. Don't sleep on Alexandre Pantoja. He should be like pound for pound 3. He's cleared out his division. Let's say Islam were to beat Gaethje twice, Arman twice, Oliveira. We could throw in like a Fiziev, Poirier, like people like that. Like, Pantoja's cleared out his division, and he's just fighting whoever, because he's literally beating everyone. So he's underrated, is what I'm trying to say. He has the best wrestling of the 3 fighters that I chose as candidates. He's the most well-rounded, so he's the most suited on the ground, whereas he can also strike, which is arguable with Oliveira, but I believe his style of grappling is better than Oliveira's for MMA. He's most well suited towards the current MMA meta. So he has good grappling. He has great top pressure. He's going to be able to compete with people like Islam, and he's going to be able to compete with John Jones in the Olympics, and he can hold his own on the feet even against elite strikers like Brandon Royval. He was not doing well against on the feet, but he was holding his own. Now, for Russia, for the potential representatives, Russia is stacked right now. This was hard for me to decide. It was either Pyotr Yan or Ankalaev, but Ankalaev looks better right now. Like, that's crazy. I feel like that's crazy to say, but I don't think it is, because Petr Yan has lost to Merab. He maybe lost. I wouldn't say he lost to O'Malley, but he lost to Aljo. Whereas Magomed Ankalaev is looking really good, and there's actual questions if he would beat the current champion in his division. Whereas no one really believes that Petr Yan would beat Merab right now. So with that aside, Umar Nurmagomedov, elite wrestling. You know, he's a Dagestani, so he has that. Very good, somewhat unorthodox striking. What I mean by that is he'll throw question mark kicks. He'll throw those weird teep kicks. His teep kicks are as fast as jabs. Great distance management, but even his boxing looked improved in that Corey Sandhagen fight, and he has great cardio. For cons with Umar Nurmagomedov, this one was hard for me just because I don't know a lot. I haven't seen him enough, but I don't think he possesses very good defensive striking. But he looked better in that fight with Corey Sandhagen, but he has that bobblehead head movement like Khabib, which works, but I think he needs to improve his defensive striking. Struggles against explosive grapplers. What I mean by that is, like, I feel like with Umar, he kind of likes to do stuff linearly, where he likes to, like, advance position and control the grappling. But if someone, like, he doesn't do well in scrambles, I guess. Like, well, he does, but he just doesn't do well when he's not controlling the pace of the grappling, which I think is going to be a factor against Merab. He's inexperienced and somewhat untested, so I wouldn't confidently be able to really choose him to represent Russia in the Olympics. Now, next, Islam Makhachev. Elite wrestling, one of the best defensive strikers in the UFC, which you could say is somewhat due to takedown defense. I don't care. That's a factor in MMA. Elite clinch striking. He'll throw knees. You can't really throw knees with him in the clinch because he'll immediately just sweep you and disrupt your balance. He's an immense submission threat. He submitted Charles Oliveira, current UFC lightweight champion and pound for pound #1 in the world. He's the best pound for pound fighter in the world. He has a good chin. You know, he got knocked out by Pantoja or Adriano Martins, but you know, he has a good chin. He got hit clean in that Poirier fight and he was fine. But he can be outboxed. But like I guess Volkanovski kind of outboxed him in some exchanges, and Poirier as well, but he just took Poirier down. So I don't really know. He doesn't have a lot of flaws, to be honest. But yeah. And then Magomed Ankalaev, he has very good technical boxing. People always talk about Ankalaev's wrestling, but I think his boxing is his best aspect. Against Rakic, he was throwing 1-2s down the pipe. His straight punches, he has good power in those straight punches. He has elite wrestling pressure. So what I mean by that is he'll kind of suffocate you with takedowns. Not like Merab, but he'll mix them into his striking. And he has good cardio. Cons, he's not much of a submission threat, so even if he takes you down, he's kind of just laying on top of you. He's not doing much. He can be overwhelmed in striking, like against Jan Blachowicz. He kind of got pressured, if I remember correctly, and he's been submitted before. He got submitted by Paul Craig, which doesn't really matter. You know, all these dudes, Islam Makhachev, Umar Nurmagomedov, Ankalaev, are like very good, very, very good fighters. Like, there's not many flaws in their game. But for the chosen representative, I obviously chose Islam Makhachev. He's the most well-rounded of the three, pound for pound #1 in the UFC, best submission threat of the three, and best defense of the three. Very little flaws. He pretty much has no flaws in his game, besides that, you know, he sometimes gets caught in boxing exchanges, and he'll lose those. But he's very good. So I'll choose him to represent Russia. Australia/New Zealand. I wasn't about to do separate for each country, bro. They're the same country. I know I have the Australian flag, but you could imagine a New Zealand flag in the corner or something. And for Australia/New Zealand, for the potential representatives, I chose Alexander Volkanovski, Dan Hooker, and Robert Whittaker. Now, for Volk, look at this guy. It's so sad to look at him, bro. But elite striking, great wrestling in ground and pound. In the Ortega fight, he was landing those ground and pound strikes, and he had good top pressure. He has good volume striking and accuracy. Great cardio and pace. He controls the pace of most fights that he's in, unless he's against Ilia Topuria. And he's one of the toughest UFC fighters, meaning he has that mindset. Like against Ortega, when he was in that guillotine and he wasn't tapping and he got out, that's the mindset you need to compete in the MMA Olympics. Now for cons regarding Alexander Volkanovski, he is out of his prime. He's coming off of 2 knockouts where he's been cracked, and he's somewhat chinny. That's weird to say, but I think he's somewhat chinny nowadays, and he can get hurt in striking. But the only people who have done that to him are Islam and Ilya. So now Dan Hooker, great striking ability. That sounds weird, but he just has good striking. I don't know why I put ability, but he has elite distance management. That's one of the best things he does, is because he's so long at lightweight. He can manage the distance so well. Toughest UFC fighter on the roster. This guy will fight through anything. He fight through a broken arm. That Barboza fight, he was like dying, but he still fought. So yeah, great defensive wrestling and good cardio. Cons, he gets hit a lot. He's one of those fighters takes one to land two. Can be outpaced in the grappling and taken down, and he likes to brawl, which isn't the worst thing, but if you tend to brawl, you can get knocked out if you lose your technique. And Robert Whittaker, he has elite striking, unorthodox style, great takedown defense, and good power. Now with the takedown defense, he got taken down by Khamzat Chimaev, bro. Like people are acting like Whittaker's ass now that he got submitted by Khamzat. Khamzat's fucking the best wrestler like in UFC history, honestly. So I don't think we can take that away from him. Now Khan's, he's pretty chinny. We've seen him wobbled a couple of times. Paulo Costa, Israel Adesanya, he got knocked out, but he can be out grappled. So we saw in the Khamzat fight. I don't hold that against him too much, because that is Khamzat Chimaev, and he can put himself in vulnerable situations in the striking. He has that hands down style where he's kind of just blitzing in, and like even against Dricus, he got knocked out. Izzy, he got knocked out. So he just sometimes puts himself in compromised situations. But for my chosen representative, Australia / New Zealand, I chose Alexander Volkanovski. He's out of his prime, but he has the most complete style of the three. He has mental toughness, and he's still very good. You know, he only lost to the most elite of the competition. Honestly, the two best fighters of the UFC right now, Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, and he's still one of the best fighters in the world. So I think he represents Australia and New Zealand the best, and he'll be competing in the Olympics. Now for Georgia. Georgia's kind of a, you know, they weren't as big in the UFC a couple years ago, but now Georgia's kind of taking over the UFC. We have, for the potential representatives, we have Merab Dvalishvili and Ilia Topuria. I threw Giga Chikadze in there, but it's because Georgia only really has two like elite fighters, but those fighters are very good. So for Merab, best cardio in UFC history. He has amazing cardio, immense grappling pressure. He'll continue to just spam takedowns the whole fight. I think he shot like almost 100 against Piotr Jan, or almost 50, I forget. He's the current bantamweight champion. He beat Sean O'Malley. He pushes the fight to extreme pace. So you have to be very aware. You have to be able to fight at a pace with him to even fight him. And he can be caught on the chin. That's one of his cons, is he can be caught on the chin. I think he's lost by knockout before. He got hit hard again. I think Jan hit him hard. I think Marias did too, but he can't really finish a fight. He doesn't have any finishing ability, knockout or submission. He knocked out Marias, but that's because Marias compromised himself by rushing in after he knocked down Merab. And he's ducking Umar. The thing about ducking is it sends a bad message. Like it makes it seem like you don't have that mindset that you believe you're gonna win. So that's actually a factor when it comes to determining who's gonna be in the Olympics. But moving on. Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria is the best technical boxer in the UFC. I believe he's the best striker. Pound for pound, hardest hitter in the UFC. He hits harder than Pereira pound for pound. He hits harder than Tom Aspinall pound for pound. Or maybe, I don't know. But I believe he does. He's the current UFC featherweight champion. He has elite grappling ability. Underrated grappling ability just because he doesn't grapple in his fights, because he just has such good striking. But he has elite grappling ability. He submitted Bryce Mitchell. He controls every fight he has with his boxing, and it always feels like he's winning even if he's down points. He has like that Gervonta Davis feel where, like, against Max Holloway was kind of piecing him up, and I believe Max Holloway won that second round, maybe even the first, but it just always felt like Ilia is just continuously walking him down, and he's going to land that shot. When you're watching Ilia fight, it doesn't feel like he's lost the fight until the fight's over. And For cons, he's somewhat untested in defensive grappling. You know, Ilya has a great sprawl. I think he showed that against Bryce Mitchell, but that's not enough to say that he can defend in the wrestling against Islam Makhachev. And he's inexperienced, but it was very hard to find cons with Ilya Topuria. Now, Giga Chikadze, you know, he's kind of just in here because I needed 3 fighters, but he has great kickboxing. He's accurate in his striking. He finds counter strikes. But for cons, he doesn't have very good takedown defense, lacks overall grappling ability. And he struggles with high-paced fighters, and he has iffy cardio. And he has a big-ass forehead. Look at this shit. But for the chosen representative of Georgia, I chose Ilya Topuria. He's more complete than all the other fighters. He possesses elite striking while also having great grappling ability, where the other 2 fighters only possess one of the 2. So Giga Chikadze only has the striking, whereas Merab only has the wrestling. He's the hardest pound-for-pound hitter. He has the grappling prowess, likely, because he's kind of untested. But he likely has the grappling prowess to stay on the feet with the other contestants. And if he gets it on the feet with the other contestants, he beats all of them in the striking. So I'm choosing Ilya Topuria. I think he's one of the best. He's top 2 or 1 UFC fighter on the roster. Now for England. For the potential representatives for England, I chose Arnold Allen, Leon Edwards, and Tom Aspinall. For Arnold Allen, he has great technical boxing, great cardio, good grappling, and he has very good striking defense. He has a good ability to control the pace of a fight. For cons with Arnold Allen, he lacks power. He struggles with pressure. You know, Max Holloway. Well, he did good against Max Holloway, but Max Holloway's fucking him up. He doesn't have very good takedown offense, but Arnold Allen is very well-rounded. It's just when he's against elite wrestlers, he kind of falters and he lacks finish ability. He doesn't have a lot of power or submission threat. Moving on, Leon Edwards. No one remembers this guy. He has very good technical striking, elite distance management. He has good takedown defense, and he has decent wrestling ability. People forget he took down Kamaru Usman, man. He was sweeping Nate Diaz out there, you know. He is all right wrestling, but the cons is he doesn't try to finish the fight. He likes to stay on the outside, coast, and kind of outpoint the other fighter. He lacks good technical boxing. He was getting outboxed by Bilal. He needs to stay on the outside. He needs to stay at range, otherwise he kind of gets messed up. And he's too complacent and lacks the mental toughness. Now, we saw in that Bilal fight, he kind of fell off. Like at the end of the fight, he kind of gave up, and we saw him try in the last 10 seconds. He did very good. I wish he was trying the whole fight. Against Kamaru Usman, the first fight, he was down. He had to get his coach to hype him up. So yeah, overall, he just doesn't have that mindset. Now, Tom Aspinall. Hello, John. He's the current UFC Interrep heavyweight champion. Great boxing. He has elite power. I don't know why I call it elite power, but he has very good power. He's one of the pound-for-pound hardest hitters in the UFC. He has good grappling, untested but good grappling. Best killer instinct in the UFC. So when he sees someone go down, he's on it. He's instantly boom, 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 striking to their head and very fast. He's the quickest heavyweight I've honestly ever seen. We saw that against Volkov, where he was just he was just kind of out speeding him, I guess. But cons, he lacks head movement and he gets hit a lot. So Curtis Blades hit him. Pavlovich hit him, and he's inexperienced and untested in defensive grappling. But that said, I still choose him as the UK representative. Bro, I chose this flag, bro, but why is because it shows this on the UFC website, but the UK flag is different, so I low-key didn't know which one to put. So if any of y'all could educate me on that shit, but because my homie was telling me last night that they're different, but I don't really get it. But all I know is Leon Edwards fucks, or I think he wears this or some shit. Or maybe that's Lerone Murphy. They're the same person. But back to topic. Tom Aspinall is the chosen representative to represent England. He has the best finishing ability by far of the 3. He possesses great grappling and has killer instinct, and is the most dangerous of all 3. Arnold Allen and Leon Edwards, they kind of just want to outpoint you. Tom Aspinall wants to kill you, so I'm choosing Tom Aspinall. For China's lacking good fighters, you know. I'm going to be on here one day, but right now, or I'm going to be on the U.S. Fuck that. China, these are all my brothers, but, you know, we got Song Yadong, Li Jing Liang, and Zhang Ming Yang. China's kind of lacking, elite fighters right now. For Song Yadong, this is my brother right here. I love him. But he has great boxing, elite power, and very durable. But he has iffy cardio. You know, he was kind of fading that Corey Sandhagen fight, even though he looked very good. He doesn't have good grappling ability. He gets out wrestled a lot, and he will overcommit to the striking, and he tends to brawl, and that opens himself up to counters. Like, he'll get counter struck a lot. In that Petr Yan fight, he was getting counter struck. Now Zhang Mingyang. Wait, did I forget about? Yeah, what the fuck? Y'all saw that? Okay, it don't matter. Li Jingliang. My gramps, bro. He's Chinese uncle right here. Great power. He has good speed, pretty tough, and he has a good chin. You know, he got knocked out by CP or Carlos Prates, but other than that, Carlos Prates has that kill tap. Like, but Li Jingliang is looking good in terms of his chin. But cons for choosing Li Jingliang, he's out of his prime. He doesn't look very good in grappling. He has cardio issues and lacks technical striking. He kind of just likes dog fights, but when it gets to the techniques in the boxing and stuff, he's not very good. Now, Zhang Mingyang, my older brother, this guy I'm really excited about seeing fight in the future, but right now I can't really say much about him. He has insane power. All of his wins have ended by knockout in the first round, or finish in the first round. He has very good pressure striking, and he'll push the pace. He has good technical boxing. Cons, he lacks experience. He gets hit a lot. He doesn't have that good defensive striking. He's vulnerable to wrestling. I haven't really seen him get out wrestled that much, but he's vulnerable for sure, and he has a tendency to brawl. So yeah, for the chosen representative, I chose Song Yadong, Kung Fu Kid. He's the most technical of the three fighters, the most proven, as well as the best ability to defensively grapple. That ability to defensively grapple will help him. He's proven. So now for France, for potential representatives, I went with Nasruddin Imavov, Cyril Gane, and Benoit Saint-Denis. Now for Imavov, you know, I don't know if he's technically French, but I think he wears it. So, but yeah, he has elite striking. He has very good distance management, has great striking precision. He's always landing on his feet, and he has good takedown defense. You know, Brendan Allen fumbled so hard, but he struggles with pressure striking. With people like Sean Strickland, he doesn't have very good grappling ability once on the ground. We saw that against Brendan Allen, where Brendan Allen was kind of having his way with him once he got it to the ground, and Brendan Allen fumbled that fight so bad. I don't like thinking about it, but yeah, Brendan Allen, bro. I mean, he can be outpaced and tired out. Now, Cyril Gane, this is not for me, but he's one of the best pure strikers in the UFC. His striking is insane. He has amazing ability to control the pace of a fight. He pretty much controls every fight that he's in, unless he's against John Jones. He has very technical striking, and he can fight for 5 rounds. He's kind of a slow starter in a 5-round fight, but once he gets going, he gets going. And as long as he's not against a pressure wrestler. But cons, he's vulnerable to wrestling. He has iffy takedown defense. He lacks boxing ability, and he lacks power. So he kind of just beats up his opponent for 5 rounds rather than knocking them out. But he's good. He's very good. Now moving on to Benoit Saint-Denis. The pros of choosing him would be he has good striking, great kicks, and he has very good power. You know, he has power behind everything he throws. But cons, he tends to brawl. He doesn't have very good takedown defense. We saw against Moicano. Vulnerable to grappling against higher level competition. So he looked good in the grappling against, I forget who, but you know, against Moicano he kind of got fucked, and he gasses out. You know, doesn't have that good cardio. Now for the chosen representative of France, I went with Cyril Gane. You know, he does not. None of these guys have very good takedown defense. I would say Imavov has the best. So maybe Imavov. I just think the striking of Cyril Gane will confuse the higher level, like the competition he'll go against. But you know, he's not winning. He's going against Jones, but he possesses the most technical striking of the three. Most confusing to handle on the feet, and he's the most tricky to solve style. What I mean by that is he has a confusing style. You need to take him down. You can't really strike with the dude. So yeah. Now, other representatives. So these are the representatives of countries that like don't have many UFC fighters, or don't have many enough UFC fighters for me to have 3 that I talk about. You know, I almost put China in here, but I love China, so I want to talk about it. So for Mexico, I went with Brendan Moreno. He's an elite striker with elite grappling. He's very tough. You know, his mindset is where it should be. He's much more complete than other Mexican fighters. For Ireland, I chose Ian Gary because McGregor's dealing with a case right now. He's not in the UFC. So the only really ranked and active UFC fighter from Ireland is Ian Gary. And he has elite striking, underrated grappling ability, and is the only active elite Irish UFC fighter. So, yeah. All right, guys, my bad. Little edit right there. I had to take a shit. But we got Ian Gary. Next, we got Tatsuratara representing Japan. I believe he should represent Japan because he's the most proven Japanese fighter in the UFC. He has elite jiu-jitsu and decent striking. He's ranked in the flyweight division. You could have gone with Kai Asakura, but we just don't know a lot about Kai Asakura right now as a UFC fighter. He was doing very good in Ryzen, but we don't know how that competition compares to the UFC. So I don't think you can definitively say that he's better than Tatsuratara. And by the way, bro, this flag, I had to put an outline because it just looks like a red fucking circle on a white screen. So, you know, you got to gift me for that. That's some high effort creator shit right there. But just to recap, we got John Jones representing USA, Pantoja representing Brazil. For Russia, we got Islam Makhachev. We're feeding Volk to these guys representing Australia/New Zealand. Georgia, Ilya Topuria. England/UK, Tom Aspinall. China, Kung Fu Kid. France, Cyril Gane. Mexico, Brandon Moreno. Ireland, Ian Gary. And then Japan, we got my little cousin. But yeah, that was what fighter I believe should represent their country in a hypothetical MMA Olympics. You know, if you guys liked the video, you know, leave a like, subscribe. You know, this is a long video. I'm feeding you guys. So, but look at Volk here between his two fathers, bro. This looks sad. I don't know. I didn't even structure it like that on purpose. But yeah, that was the video.